Well, Stacy's brother had did carpentry work for years, and I said, "Hey, Jared, I have a mess," and he got us out of it. But it was really hard. And the thing of the matter is like in the middle of a project, Stacy's like, "I think it's not going to look nice. I don't think we should have done it." She always like, "I think things are going to go bad," and I'm like, "No, I see the end result. I know it's going to be better. You don't even talk to me about it. Don't be discouraged. Like I've got this. It's going to be great on the other side." But in the middle of remodeling, has anybody remodeled before? It's kind of chaotic sometimes, right? In the middle of remodeling, in the middle of chaos, in the middle of life, sometimes we get discouraged. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. But sometimes we just have to stop and look back and remember the good things. Remember that in our lives that there was good things that God had moved before. He moved once before in our lives, and we can believe that He is going to move again. I'm not a historian by any means. If you know me, I'm more of a numbers guy. I love math. I love budgets. I love Excel spreadsheets. I'm a nerd when it comes to Excel spreadsheets. I can just hang out with them all day long. When I have to start reading about history and stuff like that, it's like, oh, I don't know that this is super fun. But there is a thing about looking back at our history and learning from people's mistakes, right? And a lot of times they tell us, well, history repeats itself. So if it happened before, it might happen again. So it is a good way of looking at the past. Well, a lot of times we hear people say, well, those were the good old days. How many people have heard that said, right? How many people have said that? Those were the good old days. Were they? You know, I like running water. I think it's fantastic. That's a good old day, right? Electricity. My mom used to talk about going to the outhouse. I think indoor plumbing, having a toilet in the house is great. So there is some things about the good old days that were probably good, but there's some really cool things about nowadays, right? So I have this app on my phone. It's for sports clips. I can leave work and I can check in like I'm there in the store. And when I walk into Sports Clips to get my hair cut, I'm like waiting 2 to 3 minutes because I've already checked it online. That's super cool. 20 years ago, you couldn't do that. 50 years ago, they didn't have phones, so you could have done nothing like that. I have some conflict in this part. I used to play the piano in church, and we played the hymns. There was just a piano over here on the side. Y'all remember like just a piano? Sometimes if your church was super contemporary, you'd have an organ on the other side. So you'd have an organ, piano, right? And so as a piano player, I think I was like 20 years old, we played hymns. It was just the piano usually because there was never an organ player. So we played the hymns. So I have a special place in my heart for hymns. I grew up playing them. I could tell you, like 324 was when we all get to heaven. They could say the number, and I knew where in the hymnal I could find it. Like I was trained, ready to go on hymns. And then they transitioned to this other thing called like contemporary worship. And so they're like, "Hey, this is the chord sheet." I'm like, "What is a chord sheet?" Like, give me my notes, my hymnal, my notes. And they're like, "Yeah." So the song, like, the one chord was F sharp minor. I'm like, what? I don't know what F sharp is, let alone throw a minor in there. It took me weeks to figure out how to play that. And we transitioned into these contemporary worship